India celebrates its 77th Independence Day today. People across the country are waving the tricolour with immense pride and enthusiasm as the nation commemorates the struggle of those who fought for our beloved freedom. Prime Minister Modi addressed the nation on this very special occasion early this morning at the Red Fort in New Delhi, hailing India's triumphs in this space and the road and digital and tech sectors. Prime Minister Modi highlighted the message of unity to accelerate India's growth and achieve all its visionary goals. Let's in fact listen in to what exactly the Prime Minister had to say.
प्रगति की हर चीज में, लेकिन जब 2047 हम एक विकसित भारत का सपना लेकर के चल रहे हैं तब, और वो सपना नहीं 140 करोड़ देशवासियों का संकल्प है, और उस संकल्प को सिद्ध करने के लिए परिश्रम की पराकाष्ठा भी है, और उसकी सबसे बड़ी ताकत होती है वो राष्ट्रीय चरित्र होता है। दुनिया में जिन जिन देशों ने प्रगति की है, दुनिया में जो जो देश संकटों से वो पार करके निकले हैं, उसमें हर चीज के साथ साथ एक महत्वपूर्ण कैटलिक एजेंट रहा है, वो राष्ट्रीय चरित्र रहा है। और हमें राष्ट्रीय चरित्र के लिए और बल देते हुए हमें आगे बढ़ना होगा। हमारा देश, हमारा राष्ट्रीय चरित्र ओजस्वी हो, तेजस्वी हो, पुरुषार्थी हो, पराक्रमी हो, प्रखर हो, ये हम सबका सामूहिक दायित्व है। और आने वाले 25 साल हम एक ही मंत्र को लेकर चले, ये हमारे राष्ट्रीय चरित्र के सिरमौर होना चाहिए, एकता का संदेश, भारत की एकता को जीना, भारत की एकता को आंच आए, न ऐसी मेरी भाषा होगी, न ऐसा मेरा कोई कदम होगा। हर पल देश को जोड़ने का प्रयास मेरी तरफ से भी होता रहेगा। भारत की एकता हमें सामर्थ्य देती है। उत्तर हो, दक्षिण हो, पूर्व हो, पश्चिम हो, गांव हो, शहर हो, पुरुष हो, नारी हो, हम सबने एकता के भाव के साथ और विविधता भरे देश में एकता का सामर्थ्य होता है। और दूसरी महत्व की बात मैं देख रहा हूं, अगर 2047 में हमें हमारे देश को विकसित भारत के रूप में देखना है तो हमें श्रेष्ठ भारत के मंत्र को जीना होगा, हमें चरितार्थ करना होगा। अब हमारे प्रोडक्शन में मैंने 2014 में कहा था जीरो डिफेक्ट, जीरो इफेक्ट। दुनिया के किसी भी टेबल पर मेक इन इंडिया चीज हो तो दुनिया को विश्वास होना चाहिए, इससे बेहतर दुनिया में कुछ नहीं हो सकता है।
All right, joining us to talk more about this is Group Captain V.N. Jha, former Joint Director of the DRDO, Senior Scientist. Captain Dr. D.K. Pandey, former Navy Officer, also with us on the show. Captain Shyam Kumar, former Navy Officer, Senior Advisor, also joining us on the program. Mr. Sandeep Chatra, Human Rights Activist and also a regular on our important panels, joins us on the program. Well, first up, a happy Independence Day to all our panelists. Thank you so much. A very good morning to you. It's an auspicious day. It's an auspicious occasion. The one feeling, the one streak, Group Captain V.N. Jha, that I would like to imbibe upon, build upon, is the unity factor that the Prime Minister spoke of. We have a multitude of guests today. I just want to get this disclaimer in before I ask you my next question. Please wrap up your answer within 2 to 3 minutes because we have lots to talk about. Group Captain V.N. Jha, well, India's unity cannot be defined by its differences. India's unity cannot be defined and prescribed by its agendas and what ails us. India's unity, according to the Prime Minister, is defined by how far we have come, how much we have accomplished despite all the odds, and what all we have left behind. Crossing the Rubicon moment has already occurred. India is at a point in time, we are the 5th largest economy. The Prime Minister, with absolute confidence, is sure that by 2027 or 2028, India will be the 3rd largest economy in the world, and that is not possible without having this sense of unity, without this sense of Vasudev Kutumbakam, without this virtue of seeing India as Indians. Do you concur with what he said and what he believes in?
Absolutely, Vineet. Before I start, many happy returns of this day to all our fellow Indians. on the 77th Independence Day of India. This is the day when we cherish the involvement, the sacrifices that our elders have given in the independence movement, and subsequently also in making India the strength that it has today. What PM Modi was talking of the unity of India is whatever we have achieved today, wherever we are today, it is not by a single person, it is by the entire
Exactly,
nation.
exactly.
Everyone has contributed to it. That is where he was trying to hint at. Look, right from the day of independence, or even before that, there have been detractors within us. But India has not moved forward because of those detractors. It is because they are the people who are nationalists, who are absolute, Indians who want to see the India as a nation which can fill the aspirations of all Indians. And in that area, where PM Modi was talking about, of course, he was trying to give his report card also of the last 10 years, but we must not forget one thing, that where we were about 10 years back, Fragile 5 armed forces was at the absolute nadir of the modernization. There was absolutely no modernization of the armed forces in the last about 30 years. So that is where armed forces were there. The economy was absolutely at the worst. Fragile 5, as I mentioned to you. There were many other sectors where absolutely India was looking at the desperation. Today, when we are one of those five major economies in the world, where India is the brightest spot post-COVID in the eyes of all international evaluation agencies that you can think of, whosoever is saying, they are saying that India is the brightest spot, and there is a reason. Today, we are the highest growing economy. The inflation is at the lowest compared to all these nations, all these developed nations, and the major economies that we have had. So there are in armed forces. I can talk of the armed forces. Today, the armed forces has received all those what had not received in the last 60 years. So armed forces that speak and Atmanirbhar, self-reliance. That is where the mantra is now. Remember, I was also part of evaluation of Rafale, which Indian Air Force had taken post 2006, 2007. And when we decided that, yes, Rafale is one of the best aircraft that we can have, government of India at that time said, we don't have funds to buy it. So where we were there earlier, the amount of money, funds that has come to the armed forces in modernizing it, and with the Atmanirbhar push that it will continue growing up, whether it is Air Force, Army or Navy. The Navy, 2014, we didn't have a single aircraft carrier. The one we had already gone docked. So there was nothing, and today we have got 2 aircraft carriers. And all these, the submarines, the ships, so many things have come. And the last but not the least, the missile, the strategic defense, missile system, what we had in 2014 and what we have today. From the defense point of view, I can tell you that the amount of modernization, strengthening that armed forces has received, no other period of any government that we can talk of have done so.
Absolutely.
So
You're quite right, sir. You're quite right, sir. Let me also open Mr. Chacha into this. Well, the Prime Minister also mentioned, Mr. Chacha, that every nation has a character, and character building takes time. Every nation also has its set of problems. Even the most developed nations, the most advanced nations, the richest nations of the world have their own issues. But the fact of the matter is, what you focus on is what grows, is what the Prime Minister was talking about. This show is not about where India went wrong or what it could do better, but this show is largely about the Prime Minister's message of growth and inclusivity in diversity despite our differences.
थैंक यू सभी को सबसे पहले सभी को 77वें आज का हमारा स्वतंत्रता दिवस है। सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, सभी को मुबारक। हैप्पी इंडिपेंडेंस डे टू ऑल एंड थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी हियर विनीत जी। You see, Independence Day speeches, and this is the Honorable Prime Minister's 10th. Independence Day speeches always are an invocation to people, as you rightly said, They are also a political message, or political, if I may call it, but they are also statesman-like, and there is an element of statesmanship in those speeches. So as you said, what I found very compelling are the 3 Ds the Prime Minister spoke of demography, of diversity, and of democracy. So I think this was a very crucial message, and those are very crucial needs of our times. And I'm glad that this message was passed on to all of us today. Crucial realities, crucial points, tipping points for the growth, as you mentioned, for our future. Importantly, the Prime Minister, and I think that's a big message as well in terms of inclusion. The Prime Minister spoke of women-led development today. If we go back, he had spoken earlier of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, saving the girls. So I think that's a progress. I think in that message, he's invoking all our people, all our countrywomen, men, children, are invoking them towards protagonism and agency of women, leadership of women. He spoke of the women-led development today, and that's good. I think that's a welcome. What I heard was very welcome, because in a sense, it's a message that we need to not just empower, but we all need to collectively work towards advancing rights of women, be it in the domestic sphere, as we call it, the private sphere, or be it in the public sphere. The right to work, equal wages, those are tacit messages there for me. Also, the question of property rights. On the other hand, we have the debate on uniform civil code going, and gender justice is an important element there. So I think it was important what he spoke today in the spirit of leadership of women. Importantly, for me today, the Prime Minister also spoke of the question of urban poor, or the conditions of urban poor, and the need to work on conditions of urban poor. I think this is a first in his, he's spoken of housing earlier, but today he spoke of urban poor. And I think we need to realize, it's a message, we need to realize that the conditions of urban poor, or the issues of urban poor, are so very much linked to the conditions in the rural India, the agrarian India. And I think those two are a continuum and interlinked. And in order to advance the power of urban poor, or the space of urban poor, and in order to address those issues, we need to see what's really needed. And I think hopefully it follows. What's really needed is perhaps it would be a good moment to announce a national employment guarantee scheme in all the urban areas. It will be a logical conclusion to take it towards what the challenges urban poor face, and address those challenges through the framework of what I would call a right to the city. Urban poor face evictions. There's a housing questions for urban poor. There are conditions of work questions for urban poor. So that will be an important. I draw from the message.
Right, and Mr. Chacha, you just to add to your point, the Prime Minister also gave data that 13.5 crore people who were in poverty or poverty-ridden conditions have been elevated into the middle class. That is definitely an accomplishment. And of course, your point is absolutely right. We should not rest on our laurels. There needs to be more done. There's more progress that is required. I'll come back to you, Mr. Chacha. Let me also rope in General Kochar into this. General Kochar, Jai Hind, sir. A very good morning to you.
Jai Hind.
Sir, all right. It's not about preaching. It's about giving a report card to the nation. That's exactly what the Prime Minister did today. What did you make of this report card? In order to be happy and proud of where you are, it's also very, very important to understand where you were 10 years ago and where you are today. It's all right, to take certain arguments and accomplishments apart, but the only way you can keep your focus is if you have an eagle's eye point of view on the matter at hand. You can get granular later on, but the fact of the matter is that's exactly what the Prime Minister did today.
First of all, Vineet, I must wish a very happy Independence Day to all your viewers and to your channel and to all the panelists. It's a great moment for the country, and we remember and honor our braves today. The Gallantry Awards have also been announced, and my congratulations to all those recipients of the Gallantry Awards. Coming to your question now, yes, it's a report card. Prime Minister has done a lot in the 9 years, and I can speak for defense with conviction because I am actively involved in all those developments. So what we need to understand is that it is a work in progress. nothing can be achieved overnight as far as the modernization is concerned, because it takes time to modernize an army of our size. And the type of equipment we have, with the predominance of Russian origin equipment and legacy equipment we have, it's not easy to modernize. So these are tremendous challenges in front of the Prime Minister. Today, there was a mention about Manipur also. I am glad that this issue, with the intervention of the Prime Minister, will get resolved in a short time, and it augurs well for the country not to have stayed in that condition. The second aspect, important aspect, is that Prime Minister also mentioned about the border situation. He also mentioned about the efforts which the Indian Armed Forces are actually taking to ensure that we are able to maintain the sanctity of the border. Whatever has happened has happened. Yes, China has moved in and occupied the disputed areas and has established the villages. But the communication with the Chinese is on. We had the 19 level corps commanders talks also. And it shows that we are talking. And the BRICS summit is also going to take place, where there is a likelihood that there may be a meeting of the leaders there. So we are hopeful that things will get resolved, though it may not get resolved in the time frame we would like to, because unfortunately we are not in a position of strength to dictate terms to the Chinese. The Chinese are in a position of strength today, and they will decide the time frame. And especially our proximity to the United States is not appreciated by them. So they would like to keep the border issue burning as much as possible, to ensure that pressure on the Indians have been made. And one important point I would like to mention here is that it is high time that the government increases the defense budget. If you remove the pension part from the budget, it's only 1.7% of the GDP. All major armies of the world today are allocating almost 3 to 4% of the GDP to the defense. So it is a time when we talk about technology, when we talk about Make in India, when we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, when we talk about F414 engine technology coming to India, when we talk about Scorpion submarines being manufactured in our country, for all that we need money. And therefore, I am sure in the next budget, we will see a definite increase in the defense expenditure coming in. And already a large number of items have been put on the negative list, 998 items recently, and totally almost 3,500 items are on the negative list. It shows intent. It shows the intent of the Prime Minister to have meaningful Make in India, a meaningful Atmanirbhar Bharat, with the defense corridors also coming in, strategic partnership agreements also as a part of the Defense Acquisition Procedure 2020. A number of defense reforms have taken place. The FDIs have gone up to 79%, and there has been an inflow of manufacturing in India. The AK-203s are being manufactured here. The Carl Gustavs are being manufactured here. And we are now looking at the airborne sector. We are looking at the aviation sector now, where we were always lacking.
Yes, so, you're absolutely right, sir. And you've actually hit the nail on the head as well. Captain Pandey, if you're there with us? Captain Pandey?
Yeah, Jahan, I'm with you.
Right. Well, you know, even the theaterization bit, which this government initiated, had been in the works for a very long time. The seeds were sown somewhere towards, the late 90s, but it never fructified. So it's very easy to say that, the action and the meeting of political will has resulted in a lot of gains for our defense sector as well.
Yeah, first thing is Jahan, and wishing very, very happy Independence Day to our all Indians and those who are staying outside India also. and panelists. Now, coming on the intent part first, I will cover because intent is the most important element, which General Kochhar also mentioned, that what Prime Minister, when he spoke, intent was very clear. And in two-liners couplet, I will just summarize what I could make out. What he was telling is, मुल्क के लिए यूं जज्बा और ईमान रखते हैं, हम जुबां पर नहीं दिलों में हिंदुस्तान रखते हैं. So what 3 points I would like to support by saying this, that he told that by 2047, that is about on the occasion of 100th anniversary, India should be a developed nation. So you have to cover a long road to reach to that destination. So secondly, then he mentioned that we were on 10th position in 2014, and now we have to go progress in all dimensional aspects. The economy, which was today it is 3.7 trillion, and by 2027 we are going to be third economy. So it is not easy. Talking is something else, but actually achieving all these things is very, very challenging task. So when he is talking about multidimensional progress, it involves the defense as well as all other aspects of the country. Now coming on the third nation. Now point is policy can be easily made. But actually, execution of those policies is a very, very challenging. The reason is you do have various political inputs from various parties. They do have their opinion. Rafale example is there, how we got delayed about getting the Rafales. And even what progress is coming, it is coming with a very, very slow pace. Reason is that we are having very dominating political environment, which is retarding the whole process. Nevertheless, we have achieved, in spite of all these elements, what Prime Minister mentioned, that our 30 years, less than 30 years age group is we are maximum in whole world, across the globe. It means more youth lot, more workforce, more capabilities. So now what we require is capacity building and supporting. The funds has to be released. The point is, you cannot achieve. China had economy of 10% growth rate for 10 years. That's why they are now at the position where they are talking as a superpower. So things can be done, provided we do have a good will. What Prime Minister has indicated very categorically, that a will is important and it has to be executed step-by-step manner, so that we can achieve whatever we are planning. In defense sector, last point I will add, we were only we were number one importer. Now we are exporting.
Absolutely right, sir. You're absolutely right, sir. And you're right about China as well. China is of course a deflating economy. They're not growing. The GDP is at a marginal growth rate. The banking system in China is about to collapse. And guess what, Captain Shyam Kumar? India is going to take full advantage of this lacuna or hiatus or opportunity, if you call it.
Thank you very much, NewsX, and my heartiest congratulations and good wishes to everyone on the 77th Independence Day that we are celebrating today. A very inspiring speech by Prime Minister at the Red Fort. Today, India stands at a place where the internal and external, both presence of security concerns or the indigenizations or the infrastructure facilities or the might, whether it is economic or the military and the cultural, all three which I take it as a strength of any nation. The economy at fifth step, good military deterrence within 10, the Indian Armed Forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, all within a very top echelons of the prowess and power of the military strength of the world, and our confidence in importing the various kinds of branded defense or other sector equipment is showing the presence. As you brought out about the world's scenario today and Prime Minister's view, post-corona changing world order, global South concerns of all the nations, Indo-US shifting of relationship, China's knocking Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific scenarios, the string of pearls by China, the countering of this strategy by necklace of diamond by India, is all inclusive towards the Indian growth, Indians' rising economy and India's presence in the world. I definitely feel that I'm proud of it, that the political will, the awareness of the citizens of the country, youth empowerment, MSME, the NSS, NCC, Corona binding of people from doctors, nurses, professionals, all this has definitely led to a new emerging India. Today, we have two ships visiting Sydney for the PARD operations, INS Calcutta and INS Sayadri. Recently, we had a UAE visit 5 days back of Fleet Commander of Western Fleet himself leading INS Visakhapatnam and INS Trikhand, showing the Atmanirbhar Bharat,
All right,
Majgaon. So these are the things which I feel the Prime Minister has brought out in a very comprehensive form.
Absolutely. That's the word that I was trying to use. The comprehensive and yet succinctly in a very terse and direct and impactful manner.